It's like having a nervous system. It's like any part of humanity has access to almost all the information of humanity.
Imagine two pickup trucks floating in the sky with no road under them. There is no gravity to hold them down. There are no brakes to stop them. There is no steering wheel like the one in your car. These trucks are moving so fast they circle the whole Earth every 90 minutes. That is what being in orbit means. You are falling around the Earth so fast that you keep missing it. Now imagine those two trucks have to slowly come together and connect without a single hard bump. If they hit too fast, they shatter like glass. If they miss by just a few inches, they drift apart forever. That is called docking. It is one of the hardest things to do in space. This is exactly what SpaceX is trying to master with their giant rocket called Starship. This rocket is not small, it is taller than a 40-story building. When it is empty, it weighs more than 15 city buses. When it is full of fuel, it weighs more than 200 fully loaded dump trucks. This thing is closer to a skyscraper than a normal vehicle. SpaceX wants two of these massive buildings to meet in space and connect like Lego blocks. They do not want to do it just once. They do not want to do it by luck. They want to do it over and over again every single week. Most people think of the space station when they think of docking. But Starship does not work like the space station. The old way of doing things uses a system where one ship has a stick and the other has a hole. One ship pokes the stick into the hole and they lock together. This is called probe and drogue. It works okay, but it is very stiff. One ship has to do all the chasing while the other ship just waits. If anything goes wrong, you have to stop and try the whole thing again. It is a slow and rigid way to work. SpaceX decided to do something different. They use a system where both sides are exactly the same. It is like two people shaking hands instead of one person holding a glove for the other. This means either ship can be the leader, either ship can wait. It makes the whole process much faster and safer. In the old days, Russia did something like this with their Mir space station. They moved fuel from one ship to another, but they used fuel that stays liquid at normal temperatures. That fuel was very toxic. If you touched it, you would die, but it was easy to move because it behaved like water in a pipe. Starship is trying to do something much harder. It uses super cold fuel. This fuel is so cold that it would turn a person into an ice cube in a second. This fuel is called cryogenic fuel. It is basically liquid oxygen and liquid methane. These liquids want to turn back into gas the moment they get even a little bit warm. This makes moving them through pipes very tricky. It is like trying to move boiling water through a straw while the straw is sitting in a furnace. If the fuel gets too warm, it turns into gas and the pressure goes up. If the pressure goes up too much, the pipes can burst. This is the big challenge for SpaceX. They have to build a gas station in space that never leaks and never freezes. To get to the moon, Starship needs a lot of fuel. It is too heavy to carry all its fuel from Earth in one go. Think of it like a big truck trying to drive across the country. The truck is so big and heavy that it uses up almost all its gas just getting out of the driveway. To finish the trip, it needs a gas station. But there are no gas stations on the way to the moon. So SpaceX has to send up tanker ships first. These tankers are like flying fuel trucks. They wait in orbit for the main Starship to arrive. Then they connect and dump their fuel into the main ship. NASA is paying for this because they want to put people back on the moon. But the cost of doing this the old way is very high. One launch of NASA's own big rocket, the SLS, costs $4.1 billion. That is billion with a B. That is enough money to buy every single person in a large city a brand new car. For that same amount of money, you could pay for hundreds of Starship launches. The NASA Inspector General says that one SLS launch costs about 410 times more than what a Starship launch is supposed to cost. If you had $4.1 billion, you could launch a Starship every single day for over a year. Or you could launch the SLS just once. When you are trying to build a base on the moon, these numbers matter. You cannot build a house if every delivery of wood costs as much as a whole stadium. This is why the way SpaceX builds things is so important. They are focused on making it cheap and fast. The timeline for getting back to the moon is also very tight. Right now, the plan is to land people on the moon by 2026 or 2027. This is a big race. China says they are going to land their own people on the moon by 2030. At first, the United States was going to beat them by 4 years, but because of delays, that lead is shrinking. Now, it might only be 3 years. If there is one more big delay, the gap drops to 2 years. China is very good at hitting their deadlines. They built their space station on time. They landed their robots on the moon on time. NASA has been having a harder time keeping things on schedule lately. These delays mean the competition is getting closer every day. People often wonder why it takes so many launches just to get to the moon once. It is because of the way physics works. To get 100 tons of stuff to the moon, you need about 1,200 tons of fuel in space. That is as heavy as 100 school buses full of liquid. You cannot launch all of that at once from the ground. It is too heavy, so you have to do it in pieces. You launch the ship, then you launch the fuel trucks. Each fuel truck connects to the main ship and fills the tank a little bit more. It is like a bucket brigade. This is why the docking has to be perfect. If you miss once, the whole mission stops. If the pipes leak, the mission stops. The engineers have to solve the problem of liquids floating in space. On Earth, liquid stays at the bottom of a tank because of gravity. In space, liquid floats around in big blobs. If you try to pump it, you might just get a bunch of bubbles. To fix this, the ship has to use small thrusters to push itself forward very gently. This push makes the fuel settle at the back of the tank so the pumps can grab it. It is like tapping the bottom of a ketchup bottle to get the last bit out. This is a very delicate dance. If you push too hard, you waste fuel. If you do not push enough, the pumps stay dry. SpaceX has to master this plumbing under the worst conditions possible. It is super cold, there is no air, and everything is moving at 17,000 miles per hour. One of the biggest fears is something called boil-off. Since the fuel is so cold, any sunlight that hits the pipes can make it turn into gas. Imagine a pipe sitting in the sun. The fuel inside starts to bubble. The pressure goes up. If it goes up too much, the ship has to vent the gas into space to keep from exploding. Every time you vent gas, you are losing fuel. It is like having a hole in your gas tank. The engineers have to use special insulation and mirrors to keep the pipes in the shade. Sometimes they even have to roll the whole ship slowly. This keeps one side from getting too hot, like a rotisserie chicken over a fire. This slow roll keeps the fuel stable so it stays liquid. Mastering these small details is what will win the race to the moon. It is not just about having the biggest engines, it is about having the best plumbing and the smartest software. The engines on Starship are called Raptor engines. They are very advanced. These engines can change their power smoothly. It is like the gas pedal in your car. You can press it a little to go slow or floor it to go fast. These engines can go from 40% power up to 100% power. Older rocket engines are more like a light switch. They are either on or they are off. This makes landing very hard. Imagine trying to park your car if the engine only had 2 settings, stopped or full speed. You would probably crash into the garage. Because the Raptor engines can adjust their power, Starship can hover and land softly. This is why SpaceX can land their rockets and other companies cannot. It is a massive lead in technology. When we look at how much money is being spent, we have to look at the results. For a long time, big companies like Boeing were given billions of dollars to build rockets and capsules. The Starliner capsule is a good example of how this can go wrong. It was supposed to be a simple way to get astronauts to the space station, but it has been delayed for years. It has had problems with its clocks, its engines, and its software. It cost a lot of money, but it still has not done its job well. This is a pattern we see in old aerospace companies. They take a long time and spend a lot of money. While SpaceX was building and flying new rockets, these older companies were still working on the same designs from years ago. This is a competence gap. It shows who is actually getting work done and who is just filling out paperwork. This is why the government is starting to trust SpaceX more. SpaceX moves fast. They are not afraid to blow things up during a test. If a rocket explodes, they look at the data, find the mistake, and build a better one the next week. The old way was to spend 10 years making sure nothing exploded on the first try, but that meant if it did explode, you were 10 years behind. SpaceX's way is much faster. They have already done 4 big test flights of the full Starship. Each one got further than the last. They are learning how the heat shield works when it hits the air at high speed. The heat shield is made of thousands of small black tiles. These tiles protect the ship from the heat of re-entry. When the ship comes back into the air, it gets as hot as the surface of the sun. The tiles have to stay on or the ship will melt. In early tests, some tiles fell off, so the engineers changed how they are attached. They are making the ship stronger every single time they fly. This is strategic intelligence. They are using every flight as a lesson. They are not just trying to put on a show. They are trying to build a system that works perfectly every time. If they can make Starship work, it will change everything about space. Right now, it is very expensive to send anything into space. It costs thousands of dollars just to send a gallon of water. If Starship works, that cost could drop to almost nothing. It would be like the difference between sending a letter by horse and sending an email. It opens up the whole solar system. We could build big telescopes to look at other worlds. We could build labs to make new medicines. We could even send people to live on Mars. But none of that happens without the docking and the fuel. Those are the keys to the kingdom. You have to be able to move fuel from one ship to another. If you cannot do that, you are stuck in orbit around the Earth. You can never go further. The fuel transfer is the most important part of the whole plan. It is also the part that people talk about the least because it is not as exciting as a giant explosion. But for the people who understand how things work, the plumbing is the most beautiful part. It shows that we are learning how to live and work in space for real. We are not just visiting anymore. We are building the stuff we need to stay there. This is a huge shift in how humans see the stars. We are going from being explorers to being builders. When Starship is finally ready, it will be able to carry 100 tons of cargo to the moon. To put that in perspective, the Apollo missions only brought back a few hundred pounds of rocks. 100 tons is enough to bring a whole house, all the food you need for a year, and the tools to build a base. It is a massive jump in power, but again, it all depends on those fuel tankers. NASA is watching this very closely. They are the ones paying the bills with your tax dollars. They want to make sure they are getting what they paid for. So far, SpaceX has been hitting their marks. They have shown they can fly the ship. They have shown they can control it. Now they just have to show they can connect them together and move the fuel. This test is coming up soon. It will be the biggest moment in the program since the first launch. If the fuel flows, the moon is open for business. If it does not, the engineers will have to go back to the drawing board. But based on what they have done so far, most people think they will figure it out. They have a history of solving problems that other people said were impossible. They made rockets land on their own. They made engines that are more powerful than anything Russia ever built. They are building a factory that can make a new rocket every few weeks. This is a level of work that hasn't been seen since the 1960s. It is an exciting time to be watching the sky. The race is on, the scoreboard is active, and the finish line is the moon. Every time a Starship takes off, we are one step closer to seeing a human footprint in the gray dust again. This time, we are going there to stay. We are building the roads and the gas stations of the future. The plumbing might be boring to some, but it is the heartbeat of the whole mission. Without it, we are grounded. With it, we can go anywhere. The next few years will tell us if we are ready to become a space-faring species. The signs look good. The ships are getting bigger, the engines are getting better, and the people building them are getting faster. It is a competition for the history books. We are watching the best engineers in the world try to solve the hardest problems ever found. It is about more than just fire and smoke. It is about the mastery of the machine. It is about making sure that every valve opens on time and every sensor reads the right number. That is how you win in space. You win with precision. You win with hard work, and you win by never giving up, even when things are super cold and moving at 17,000 miles per hour. This is the story of the next giant leap for mankind. It is being built right now in a small town in Texas, and soon it will be happening over our heads in the silence of space. The trucks are ready to shake hands. The fuel is ready to flow. The moon is waiting. This is the next chapter of our story. We are no longer just dreaming about the stars. We are building the machines to reach them, and it all starts with two giant ships meeting in the dark and sharing a drink of super cold fuel. If they can do that, they can do anything. The future is bright, and it is happening faster than anyone expected. We just have to keep our eyes on the prize and our hands on the tools. The era of the Starship is here. It is big, it is loud, and it is going to change the world. We are lucky to be here to see it happen. Every launch brings new data and new hope. We are learning how to be better, faster, and smarter. This is how humanity moves forward. We take big risks to get big rewards. The rewards this time are an entire moon and eventually a whole new planet. That is worth every bit of effort. The plumbing might be hard, but the result is a future where anyone can go to space. That is a future worth building. It is a future where our children look at the moon not as a far-off light, but as a place people live and work. That journey starts with these tests. It starts with these docking maneuvers. It starts with the brave people who are not afraid to fail in order to succeed. We are watching history in the making. Let's make sure we don't miss a second of it. The countdown for the next big step has already started. And this time, we are not coming back. We are moving in. That is the promise of the Starship. It is the promise of a new age of discovery. And it is all being made possible by the incredible work being done today. From the smallest valve to the biggest engine, every piece matters. Every person on the team matters, and every flight brings us closer to the stars. The sky is no longer the limit. It is the starting line. Let's see how far we can run.